Welcome back, everyone. You are listening to another episode of Fast Facts Perio Edition, brought to you by A Tale of Two Hygienists in partnership with Dentist RX. And now, please welcome your host, Katrina Sanders.
Hello, and welcome to Fast Facts Perio Edition. This week, we are going to shrink down and magic school bus into a furcation. For all my millennials out there, we all learned science with Miss Frizzle. And today, we're going to learn about the science of furcations by shrinking down and really exploring what we know about furcations. Remember, assessing furcations is a critical clinical parameter for evaluating the health, wellness, and vitality of our patient's periodontium. And unfortunately, many times identifying furcations is missed until the furcation is so involved that it is detected radiologically. Let's take a look at what we know about furcations. Yes, we do know that our maxillary and mandibular molars will present with furcations. In the maxillary, our maxillary first molars will experience on occasion a buccal furcation. And it should be notated on the maxillary first molars that buccal furcation is typically about 4 millimeters from the CEJ. The mesiolingual furcation of a maxillary first molar is about 3 millimeters from the CEJ. That is important. We look at the distal furcation being located about 5 millimeters from the CEJ, and this can give us a lot of information about our patient's attachment loss. For example, if our patient is a typical 3-2-3 patient, and there's even 1 millimeter of recession on the buccal aspect, we could start to slowly creep into that furcation. By the time we have 2 millimeters of buccal recession on a maxillary first molar, that patient likely could be experiencing a grade 1 furcation. If we take a look at the mandible, the furcation is actually located even a bit higher on the mandible. For example, on the buccal aspect of a mandibular first molar, that entrance to the furcation is about 3 millimeters from the CEJ. So if you're probing a patient and on tooth number 19, you're probing along and that patient is a 3-2-3 and they have even 1 millimeter of recession, you are likely entering into an early grade 1 furcation for this patient. On a mandibular first molar, the lingual furcation is located 4 millimeters from the CEJ. And so again, when we start to take a look at some of these early attachment loss modalities, we're not only evaluating the distance from the CEJ, but also the anatomy of the concavity leading into the furcation. Speaking of concavities, fun fact, the maxillary first premolar, 61% of the time, will also be bifurcated. You heard that right. 61% of the time, the maxillary first premolar will present with a buccal and lingual root, meaning we could actually articulate into a furcation on either the mesial or the distal aspect. Now, the root trunk on a maxillary first premolar is pretty long, about 7 millimeters from that CEJ. However, when we do see bifurcated maxillary first premolars with a really deep mesial concavity, this absolutely could elevate this patient's risk of experiencing advancing and furthering periodontal disease in these areas. As we all know that furcations are relatively challenging for our patients to manage at home. Furcation involvement may be measured and classified utilizing a neighbor's probe, and in some cases, we know we can also see advanced furcation involvements detected radiologically. Nevertheless, furcations are critical for us to be assessing as clinicians because we understand that the advancement of furcations can change the patient's prognosis long term. It can absolutely change the cleansability for our patients, and ultimately, they can impact the success of our care. This has been another episode of Fast Facts Perio Edition with Katrina Sanders. Please feel free to reach me on Instagram at The Dental Wine Genist or on my website, www.katrinasanders.com. Cheers.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Fast Facts Perio Edition, brought to you in part by Dentist RX, makers of the IntelliSonic line of power brushes. Find out more by visiting their website at dentistrx.com. We'll see you next week for another Fast Facts.